Good afternoon and welcome to the March 21st meeting of Council. The City of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather. Before we start, I would like to congratulate the Oceanside Generals Junior Hockey Team. They're playing for the Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League Championship, and that will begin a best-of-7 series against the Peninsula Panthers from North Saanich. I have put a call into Mayor Orr from North Saanich, and I've made a bet with him. He hasn't responded back yet, but I assume he's going to, that the losing team will have to wear the opposing team's sweater at the next council meeting or when the series is over. And so hopefully that, and I also have suggested that the losing community would have to fly the flag of the other community as well. So let's find out how that's going to go. So on a consent agenda, we have the minutes of the public hearing held March 7th, minutes of the special council meeting held March the 2nd, minutes of the council meeting held March 7th, and approval of the council meeting agenda. I need a mover and a seconder for the, unless somebody wants to break them out. Nope. All right, moved by Councillor Chandler, second by Councillor O'Brien. Any discussions, any comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Delegations, we have, I'd like to welcome Pam Bottomley and Michelle Jones with the Parksville Downtown Business Association, and they're going to present their 2021 annual report and their 2022 budget. Are you guys online? Should have asked that before I started, I suppose. But yeah,
I'm here. Michelle.
You're there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we've got both of you. Please. You have the floor.
I just wanted to thank everybody for allowing us to be here today. And one of the things I wanted to highlight today, that we've just completed our 15th year of the BIA in Parksville downtown, and the property owners and businesses have contributed an additional $2.2 million above and beyond the regular taxes that the property owners pay for the enhancement and the promotion of the downtown core. And we'd like to thank not only council, but our members for their continued support of the PDBA and the BIA. And then, as most of you were at our AGM 2 weeks ago, and I won't go into great detail on the budget and the financial things, but what we're really here to do is just answer any questions that there may be on the budget. And then of course we were asking for the forwarding of the 25% of the levy fee as of next month. So if there's any questions.
Sorry, they're going to let you off the hook easy with no questions here. So I need a mover and a seconder for the recommendations as they've been done. Moved by Councillor Wilson, second by Councillor Greer. Any discussion? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Michelle, for appearing here today. I wanted you're thanking us for allowing you to appear. Well, I'd like to thank you at the PDBA and your board of directors anyways for your commitment that you've provided, as you just pointed out, 15 years. A great milestone to achieve here anyways, promoting our downtown, you know, and I'm looking forward to more collaboration to create an effective strategies in the downtown core in the future. And thank you so much for all your help and your members, because you are making a difference, a real difference, and it's much appreciated by us. So thank you for your commitment.
Thank you.
Councillor Chandler.
Thank you through the mayor to Michelle and Pam. I just wanted to thank you for a great year this year as the liaison into your group. It's been good to work with you guys. There's been some real, some forward progress. We're seeing some good things happening over time. And, as the city fills in and a lot of the things are happening with the the growth of the downtown. You can see the revitalization coming. We're obviously looking forward to the meeting coming up soon, which I think is going to be a really good sit down and a chat in respect to the downtown and some planning over the next year or two. So anyways, just want to thank you for the efforts, and we certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. We do appreciate everything that you do for this city. We may not always agree on everything, but the reality is that you do a great job, and we thank you for that. Thank you very much. And I'll call the vote then. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. We'll be forwarding the 25% advance on the levy funding.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sean Belpaula from the Regional District of Nanaimo. There he is. Yes, sir. You have the floor.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship. I believe there's a presentation that Parksville staff has.
Looks like they're
Bring up
working on it right now.
Okay, otherwise I could share my screen.
There it goes. Looks like
Super,
we're up.
excellent. No, that's the DCC one. Perfect, that's the one.
We like the other one better.
Sorry, I can't speak to that one. So yes, through the worship. I'm here today to present the RDN's Northern Community Sewer Development Cost Charge Amendment bylaw. And this bylaw applies to the City of Parksville, Town of Qualicum Beach, and there's a few select areas within electoral area G and E. Next slide. Yeah. So here's the outline. The presentation, it's going to be just over 5 minutes, I believe. And I'll go over what are, a little bit about DCCs, our current review, the capital projects, the new proposed DCCs, and then looking ahead from this day, sort of moving to the actual adoption of the bylaw. Next slide. So DCCs are used to offset costs directly related to new development. So when new development comes in, they require capacity of existing infrastructure. In our case, I'm talking just about the RDN wastewater infrastructure. Each development type we've calculated on average will require a certain amount of capacity, and the DCCs are established to cover off those costs. The Local Government Act sets out general requirements for how the DCCs are to work. One of the requirements under the Local Government Act is that there is a 1% assist factor that has to be applied. Next slide. The RDN applies DCCs to pay for projects that increase capacity for wastewater facilities. So in our case, that is our major interceptor line that runs from Parksville all the way up to Qualicum Beach and conveys wastewater to the French Creek Pollution Control Center, and then of course the outfall. So those sort of three components of wastewater treatment are where DCCs are applied. The local government, so in this case, any development within Parksville is responsible for collecting DCCs. So they collect DCCs for their projects, but they as well collect DCCs for the French Creek or Northern Community Sewer Service area. And those then are transferred to the RDN's finance department. The Northern Community DCCs there's one sort of thing that we allow. We allow a 100% reduction for affordable housing. And we actually followed Parksville's lead on this. They implemented that, and we made modifications and actually created a bylaw to allow this 100% reduction, which is approximately 10 years in effect now. Next slide. So the last time we reviewed and updated the DCCs was 2017. Under the Local Government Act, it is recommended that we do it every 5 years. So we're on schedule to do that update this year and have it completed sometime this fall. In undertaking this exercise, we worked closely with our consulting engineers, AECOM, who assisted us in 2017 as well with that review. And various things that they did was look at development projections and update the old plan. We looked at our capital project cost estimates. We've identified for all of our capital projects Class B estimates, and we updated and modified any schedules. We then calculated the new DCC rate based on those two things. We reviewed the updated DCC data and bylaw with the City of Parksville and Town of Qualicum Beach. And Blaine Russell was, we met with Blaine Russell on many different occasions, and he was very helpful in making sure that this review corresponded with the data that Parksville has and is using. Next slide, please. So here's the capital projects. These capital projects, they are part of the RDN's wastewater financial, Northern Community Financial Plan, and they were as part of the financial plan that was adopted last month. Here we have, I'll just go through quickly each one of these projects. We have the French Creek Pollution Control Center outfall capacity expansion. This will be a capacity expansion, but as well, we'll have a component that will be replacing potentially the existing outfall. It is an $19 million project, $11 million or 60% will be recoverable. We'll be starting design next year. French Creek expansion, which we've heard a lot about over the last couple of years. That is now a $63 million project. It is both expanding the facility, but as well as addressing odors and aging infrastructure of that plant. That's a 50% DCC program and our $31 million. And we are currently completing a value engineering exercise prior to moving forward to next steps. The next thing is our digestion. ATAD is our digesters at the French Creek Pollution Control Center. That is a $20 million project with 25% funding or $5 million from DCCs. And then this is currently the Bay Avenue Pump Station in Jensen upgrade. And that's a $6 million project, 19% or $1.2 million. And that's currently underway at the end of Bay Avenue, pardon me. And then we'll be starting design on the Bay Avenue Pump Station force main upgrade, and that's a $3 million project with, again, 19%. So mainly replacing aging infrastructure with $600,000. So the total DCC, or the total capital program under the DCC program is $111 million with $49 million paid for recovered by DCCs. And this does factor in the 1% assist factor. Next slide, please. So this is the new rates. So we're currently for single family dwelling at just over $10,000. We're going to see that jump up to $14,000 or a 39% increase. So that's a 39% increase over a period of 5 years, which correlates very closely with what we've seen from an operational perspective with our tax requisition. And then we have the other development types in here. We've established what each development type requires from a capacity perspective to develop the DCC recoverable rate here. And we followed the lead of both Parksville and the Town of Qualicum Beach to come up with what each one of these factors are. Next slide, please. So this is the last slide, right? Obviously the star represents where we are today. The next step is to be advancing a report to actually continuing to do delegations with the municipalities. We're doing both north and south right now. So it'll be Parksville, obviously, Qualicum Beach, Lanceville, City of Nanaimo. Once we're finished that, we plan on bringing a report forward to the board, RDM board, April 26th, where we will be looking for first reading as well as the approval and authorization to go forward for public information sessions. Those public information sessions will be primarily focused on the developers because DCCs are applied to land development. So that information session will occur in May, with us expecting to move forward in June for second and third reading, and then bylaw submission to the province with adoption. So depending upon the turnaround for our submission to the province, we're looking at likely September or October when this is adopted. Once adopted, the rates will take effect. However, if there is in-stream applications, there will be what is referred to as a 1-year exemption period. That 1-year exemption period will allow in-stream applicants to finish their application and still be under the old bylaw and the old bylaw rates. So they'll be given 1 year. We will not have a grace period once the bylaw is adopted. If the applications are not in stream, the new rates will apply. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? The only thing I noticed was that the price of a new house is going to go up by $4,000 based on the DCC costs, and $104 for an apartment or a condo. Is that what I picked up from your conversation there?
Yes, Your Worship. That is the case. Of course, there is the City of Parksville DCCs apply as well.
I understand.
If there's any increases to that, those will obviously apply as well to that development.
I understand. Thank you. Any other questions? Need a motion to receive. Councillor Greer, seconded by Councillor Chandler. All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Highstreet Ventures, please present your zoning amendment application for 164 Alberni Highway and 113 Jensen Avenue West. If you're there. There we go. Welcome. Please, the floor is yours. We're looking forward to hearing your presentation. You're muted. No, still muted. Is it something that we have clicked here? Okay. Are you muted on your side? He's saying no. He's moving his head no anyways. I'm still not hearing anything. Pardon me? Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, so we're having a problem with your audio here. Would you like to call back in and see if you can get it functioning? All right, we'll give you a couple seconds here. Go ahead. We'll give them a minute or two and then let them come back online. It's the joys of these things. Yeah. Are they back online now, Amanda? Can we hear you? No. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do because we're not picking you up, and we know from the previous presentation that the audio works at this end. So maybe what you can do is give us a call. And the phone number is? Okay, he seems to have it. Gotta love technology. I don't know. It's a good question. There was a lady that was on there with you. Does her voice work or her audio work? I'm not sure he even hears us. I think he does. Yeah, okay.
Oh, you know what? That's hello, can you hear me? Okay, do we have you?
Okay, we're ready to go here.
Okay, thank you so much. I apologize for the inconvenience.
No problem.
We are ready to go. I am just going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, thank you, Your Worship and members of council, and for for putting up with this. My name is Eric Delorme. I'm development manager at Highstreet Ventures here. Today, I have with me Christina Wilson, president of Highstreet Ventures, and we are the developer and applicant for the 164 Alberni Highway project. So today we're going to speak to who we are, why we're asking for the zone amendment, and to address how the proposed project meets the OCP requirements for multifamily buildings and how the community will benefit from this development in Parksville's downtown core. So a little about who we are. Based in Kelowna, BC, Highstreet Ventures has been developing wood-framed multi-unit residential buildings since 2005. Currently, we specialize in sustainable high-performance condominiums and rentals, delivering high-quality buildings with high-quality finishes. So founded as a real estate developer, Highstreet Ventures has grown to encompass not only development, but also finance and accounting, construction and operations. And our properties have been developed in forward-thinking cities across British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario. So sustainability for us is at the core of who we are and what we do. It's more than just a business goal. It's a way of life and a fundamental understanding of integrity. We recognize that the business model must be identifiably sustainable, satisfying the ecological, economical, and societal challenges we face both today and tomorrow. So prioritizing locally and sustainably sourced building materials, occupant comfort, operating costs, and eliminating greenhouse gas emissions by constructing 100% electric buildings are just a few ways Highstreet Ventures differs from the average developer. So our communities are largely powered by on-site solar photovoltaics, with provisions for adding more when allowed by utility regulations. And Highstreet buildings often have arrays large enough to power entire blocks of single-family homes. To lean off this point a little bit more, building environmentally responsible real estate is important to us and is reflected in our company goal to complete 10,000 net zero energy ready homes by the end of 2031. And with well over 2 million watts of solar installed to date and nearly 1,000 BC Energy Step Code Step 4 net zero energy ready homes in our portfolio, with 2,300 more in development, we are well on our target to meeting our goals. The site of the proposed development is located at the intersection of Alberni Highway and Jensen Avenue West, and is comprised of 2 legal lots that are currently vacant from trees and structures. Currently, both 164 Alberni Highway and 113 Jensen Avenue are zoned C3 downtown commercial, as per Parksville's zoning and development bylaw number 2000. So why are we choosing to amend the current zoning bylaw? Well, this development will possess ground floor commercial units fronting Alberni Highway and seeks to amend the downtown commercial C3 zone to facilitate residential occupancy on a portion of the building's first floor. We want to be able to bring more residents to the downtown area to support Parksville's commercial economic growth and to create a functional and viable end product, balancing the current need for housing and commercial opportunity. We're also looking to optimize the main floor layouts of the proposed building, placing commercial units where we believe to be most successful. And so in this case, we're proposing the commercial units front Alberni Highway and the corner of Alberni Highway and Jensen Avenue West, where pedestrian traffic and storefront sightlines are at their greatest. The ground floor units fronting the laneway connecting Hearst Avenue to Jensen Avenue West are ideal residential spaces where commercial units would see reduced foot traffic and reduced storefront visibility, making the location less desirable for commercial uses. To be sure the proposed development is in alignment with the OCP requirements for Part 3 multifamily buildings, the design has been drafted to accommodate the compact and intensive form outlined in the City of Parksville's official community plan, as is the intention and vision for the downtown core. This development focuses heavily on encouraging high-quality architecture with well-designed pedestrian connectivity to the downtown area. The currently vacant site holds incredible potential to add to the revitalization of the downtown core through intensive landscaping design and architectural particulars reflecting the identity and aspirations of the community. The proposed project will be 100% electric and constructed to achieve the highest steps in the BC Energy Step Code compliance pathway for Part 3 residential buildings. So that's Step 4 for the residential portion and Step 3 for the commercial. Now, this residential development will also include a large rooftop solar array of photovoltaic panels to supplement the building electric demand with clean solar electric energy. Now, this not only helps the building achieve the high efficiency performance, but it also ensures the low operating costs for future owners. Now, understanding the importance of water conservation and low impact site design and what this means to the City of Parksville, the proposed development will incorporate both a stormwater detention system designed to mimic the natural hydrology of the site, as well as rain gardens, allowing the landscaping features to assist in drainage control. Within the building, water-saving fixtures are used to limit the amount of water waste and maximize efficiencies, reducing water by up to 35% or more. Highstreet is also implementing 100% EV-ready parkades to encourage emission reduction while providing for the future. So all stalls, regardless of location, will have EV charging capabilities in our parkades. This is achievable through the integration of an energy management system, allowing electric load sharing between the base building systems and electric vehicle charging. And on the 113 Jensen Avenue surface parking, we will also include a minimum of 2 Class 2 charging stations for visiting and commercial customers. So additional sustainability features for this project should also be noted and include, but are not limited to, charging infrastructure in the storage area for bicycles, low VOC paints and adhesives for all interior surfaces, Energy Star appliances in all residential units, triple pane argon-filled windows with low E coatings to control solar heat gain, ERVs or energy recovery ventilators in each unit for fresh filtered supply air, and native drought-tolerant plant species for landscape design and also to aid in the reduced water demand on site, vegetation furnished with rainwater gardens to supplement the irrigation, and only LED lighting on this site. For so many reasons, we're excited for the opportunity to develop in downtown Parksville neighborhood, as it hosts exciting amenities that lend themselves well to providing opportunity for a pedestrian community. The proximity to existing parks, schools, public transit, and green space provides an opportunity for design centered around alternative transportation. The proposed site design orients the building towards the street, screening parking from street view and encouraging neighborly interaction. The site design further encourages alternative transportation by providing bicycle parking throughout the site. Long-term bike parking for residents is proposed below grade in the building's parkade, with short-term bike parking at the building's main entrances. We want our communities to become hubs for people that choose to forego vehicles and instead opt for cycling and walking. We typically provide a commercial grade bicycle pump for bike tires and an accompanying work stand so that the community can ensure their bikes are always operating safely and minimize trips off-site by vehicle for maintenance. To accommodate the 164 Alberni Highway development, we are also proposing variances to the current zoning bylaw, including an increase in building height to facilitate the proposed and OCP supported 4 stories, a building setback adjustment at the rear lot line to maximize the form and character potential for the site, a parking drive aisle adjustment to provide adequate parking within site constraints, and a parking and landscape adjustment on the 113 Jensen Avenue West site to accommodate the comprehensive stormwater management design and inclusion of a loading zone along the laneway frontage without losing parking for future owners and commercial customers. We're also asking for a landscape setback adjustment on the 164 Alberni Highway site to provide a complete and defined Alberni Highway street frontage. We're asking that the requirement for screening around the refuse areas be eliminated to increase crime prevention efforts, as well as to relax the access separation from the adjoining north parcel boundary to accommodate a user-friendly parkade slope. It's our intention to provide the city of Parksville with the best possible mixed commercial residential design. We look forward to bringing you this High Street community and to provide much needed home options for the current and future residents of Parksville. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have questions already. For Councillor Greer.
Thank you, Your Worship, and very good presentation. Looks like you've done your homework. I was just wondering about the parking lot. Is that 2 stories, 3 stories, or just 1 story?
It's 1 story of parking underground. So it's just 1 level of underground parking, as well as surface parking on the 113 Jensen site.
So you have 2 areas then?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, looks good. Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Great presentation, Eric. I just had a couple of questions for you. Is that angled parking on, is that Jensen? It looks like on one of the diagrams that, yeah, that one.
Oh, no, that's a good find. This is not something that we are proposing, and I apologize for that the rendering caught that, but great eye.
Yeah, I thought that was a great idea. There's one other question, but it slipped my mind. So if somebody else wants to ask a question, then come back to me. Thank you.
Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through Eric. Yeah, great presentation. I just have to comment that I'm very impressed with the fact that you're probably the first development in Parksville that's going to achieve step 4 of the BC Energy Step Code. So I'm very impressed with that and all the other features that you're putting in this to help reduce the Parksville carbon footprint, including the full solar array. So thank you so much for having the confidence to bring this project to Parksville.
Councillor Patterson.
Thank you again for your presentation. It's interesting to see one come before council and have a lot of detail and everything behind it. I think most of my questions actually will go to our Director of Planning because the report is coming up in the rest of our agenda today. Will you be staying online during that time?
I can. I was expecting to get kicked off of the live stream, but yeah, no, I can absolutely be here.
Okay, thank you.
You're more than welcome to stay online and on the Zoom part of it to watch the rest of the meeting if that's what you'd like to do, Eric. Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Your Worship. So Eric, I just had one more clarification. I believe when you did this presentation to the ADP, you mentioned that it was going to be strata. Will there be rentals in this, and will they be open to all ages, all demographics?
I'm going to let Christina Wilson, our president, answer that question, as we typically wait till the product's ready to go to market before we make the determination between rentals or apartments. Christina, do you mind commenting on that?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, like Eric said, we typically wait. Right now, though I can say we are leaning towards a strata property. So it would be for sale. I'm sure though in some of that sale that people will rent that out. We've seen that in some of our developments where people buy investment to rent out. And yes, it will be open to all ages.
Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, through Your Worship, to Developer Group. We really appreciate the time today. I think it'd be great to see a little bit more questioning coming up on the specific meeting here, but I think you've covered off so many great things. It's quite a complex project. You've got so many good things together, and I just wanted to point out one of my things that I liked the most was how you've managed to tie in some really amazing landscaping in the front and the sides. I think that's going to be a real marquee corner for us as people come into town. So I'm glad that something like that's coming up as opposed to a lot of concrete structure in our faces. So then just outside of that, the idea of having the electric chargers in the back, the electric bike chargers, all of these things really bode well to the type of traffic I think that will buy or rent those places downtown. So thank you. It's a great presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor France.
Thank you. If I may, through the mayor, to our delegation here. Eric, I want to say thank you for your presentation. I think what you've brought forward here is so well thought out. It has a lot of considerations. Obviously, you've been paying attention to other developments that have been coming through because it has a lot of the things that we've been asking for from other developers. I did have a chance to watch your ADP presentation as well. And so I saw the considerations for accessibility, the color schemes, which I really like, the how it complements with the project across the road there, the two of them together. I think it's a job very well done. One thing I do want to mention after seeing the ADP is I do say I don't agree with what some of the suggestions that were brought forward about art pieces being put in and so on. I like what you guys have presented, and I wouldn't encourage you to go away from that towards other kind of subjective art pieces and that type of thing. So thanks for those considerations, the Parksville colors in there, the blues and the whites and how the colors fade. It's a very appealing project. And I think if this gets approval to be and manages to get built here, I think Parksville will be very fortunate to have such a wonderful development. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you to the mayor. And just one further question, realizing that these projects are tied together in between 164 Alberni and 113 Jensen Avenue. I just have a question regarding construction timelines, since the buildings are very similarly designed and so forth, and well done, I must say as well. Would they be constructed simultaneously, both sides of the street, or is one side going to be phase one and one side phase two? Or are you combining the two sites as coming out of the ground?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, Christina, you take that one.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I'll answer. Yeah, the intention is to build these properties together. So the one across the road on Jensen and this one, we typically buildings for us follow about a month behind each other. So it's not a phased project. It's just the sequencing of construction. So the intention would to build this and the other ones at the same time.
Okay, no other questions? Thank you very much. It was an excellent, excellent presentation. Really appreciate it. Well worth the wait until we got you online and ready to go. As Councillor Patterson mentioned, this is coming up on the agenda a little bit later on. You're more than welcome to sit and go through the rest of the agenda with us. But again, thank you very much for a great job. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to figure out our volume and Mike.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Correspondence, Regional District of Nanaimo Northern Community Search and Rescue Service Amendment Bylaw number 1736.01.2002. I need a mover and a seconder for the recommendations. Moved by Councillor Fraz, second by Councillor O'Brien. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Mr. Russell, you've taken your place of honor there. Please present your report.
Certainly, if I may, Your Worship, for council consideration is a report that covers 3 applications. It covers a minor rezoning application to amend the downtown commercial zone on a site-specific basis. That site-specific basis would only apply to the subject property, and that would allow for a portion of residential on the first floor of the building. Also for consideration is a development variance permit, primarily to consider the height relaxation to increase the height of the building to allow for 4 stories, as well as a relaxation to the rear lot line. In the case of this lot, the main face of the building's on Alberni Highway. The sort of secondary face is on Jensen, but because of the way the bylaw is worded, the Jensen Avenue property line ends up being the front property line. And so there's a need to vary that rear 4-meter rear setback in order to allow the building to continuously go along Jensen Avenue. There's a number of more minor variances included with respect to maneuvering aisle width and some of the proximity of the parking area and the adjacent property boundaries. Those are detailed in the report. The application was presented to the advisory design panel at their last meeting, which was on February the 24th. Out of that meeting, some recommendations came. One was that it be presented to council with consideration of acceptance, subject to further consideration of some items. The proponent has detailed those specifics on what they're able to address, and the recommendations are per the agenda to allow us to go ahead with notice for the development variance permit, to consider on the bylaw portion of the agenda, the amendment to the zoning bylaw for first reading, and to defer consideration of the development permit until such time as we've done public notice for the variance.
Thank you. I'm prepared to take all 5 points together if you wish. So Councillor Chandler, you're moving all 5. Councillor Greer is seconding. Discussion.
Sorry, Your Worship. I would prefer that we separated them out.
Is there a particular one you want separated out?
It's fine. It's just that there were a couple questions in regards to each point, so
You can still ask questions on each one if you
Yeah.
wish.
that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so we're still on all 5 right now. We have that on the floor. Questions? Councillor Patterson, go ahead. What are your questions?
You're going to put me on the spot.
I am, sorry.
Okay, so in regards to the issuance of the 4-story, these are all coming at once with the five recommendations, and that's so. I'm definitely in favor of that council defer the consideration of the development permit until the final consideration of the variance permit. And I know that it's gone before the advisory design panel and that there was a few minor options that they put forward. So I'd actually defer to Councillor Wilson if there was anything in specific else, since I wasn't able to look at that ADP meeting. So I'm just a little concerned on the timeline and timeframe in regards with some of the zoning and the variance permits that are being proposed.
Can I ask for a clarification on what the concern is?
Oh, I guess it's the time frame, and to be able to have the public engagement and a hosted open house, and also the because there's so many different variances, I guess you would say, that there's a parking lot variance, there's a setback variance, there's off-street parking, and some of the landscape as well. So
My understanding here is that the councils, we would defer the permit until the development permit application has gone through the variance process, correct?
If I may, worship, yes, that's correct. So there's a couple things. So all the variances would be considered together. So at this point, we would just be asking for permission to go ahead with notice, and we would be notifying properties within 50 meters of the variances that have been requested. And that at a following subsequent meeting, we would be coming back to council with respect to any public comments that have been received. And at that time, council would be considering two things. It would be considering the development variance permit for consideration of issuance after hearing from the public. And it would also be considering the development permit. With respect to the rezoning, that's related to something internal to the building. That's sort of what 50% of the floor area is, may or may not be. That's going to sort of march along separately on its own on a longer time frame than those other two applications. And depending on what the outcome of that process is, they'll either have residential on a portion of the bottom floor, or they won't, and they will have to make building adjustments accordingly.
thank you for that.
Does that answer your question? Okay. So we are deferring the actual approval of the development permit until we've gone through the public consultation. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Would Councillor Patterson like me to address these issues now or from the ADP, or would you prefer to wait?
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. No, I've reviewed everything. I've just, they were fairly minor in scope with the advisory design panel. It's just the timeline I'm also questioning. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Then I'm going to call the question on all 5 of the points of the recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Russell, please.
If I may, Your Worship, for council consideration is a follow-up report regarding a development variance permit and development permit to facilitate a mixed multi-unit residential commercial building at 103 and 113 Jensen Avenue East. This application was originally presented to the design panel back in, I believe, December. There was a number of items the design panel had requested that it come back. At the time, the applicant requested that it come directly to council, which it did. At that last meeting, council authorized us to proceed with notice. And now this application has come back. I will add that in the interim, the applicant did decide to go to the design panel after all. They did present a second time to the design panel with amendments that they made to that plan. The design panel at that meeting accepted those changes. The recommendations are per the agenda to consider the development variance permit and development permit.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder, and again, prepared to take all three recommendations at once, unless somebody wants to break it out. Is there a particular one you want broken out?
I'd like to discuss the variance and then I want to discuss the development permit. I just want to make comments on both.
Okay.
I can do
But
it.
you can do that.
All right, that's fine as long as I can do both. All right.
Certainly address all three during the conversation. All right. I need a mover and a second. Moved by Councillor Greer, second by Councillor O'Brien. Now, discussion, please, Council.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, as everyone knows, I'm sure I sit on the advisory design panel. I did have a discussion with our director of planning about this project because there are a few things that certainly came up in the advisory design panel. So, and I'm just going to make comments. I'm not trying to stop a project or be against it. I just want to make comments that I think concern me. And the first one on the site triangle is that it's a very busy corner there and it's very prominent. So I am still concerned about this. I realize our engineering says it perhaps won't cause any problem, but there is a post that is quite visible in replacing the building that is now set back from the street on the main floor. And I guess I am concerned about safety and whether or not that could possibly be a hazard for pedestrians who may not be looking and may walk right into the post because it's kind of unexpected to have a post along the sidewalk or adjacent to the sidewalk. So that concerns me. The other things that I would just like to say, as per the development permit area, there are a couple of things that I think that this project could certainly be improved upon, and that might be that is missing from the project, and it would just make it much more I don't know, a higher standard. I just don't think this is a high enough standard for a revitalization project. So I think that they could add some of the West Coast materials that are in guideline 9A and B, and it's pretty easy to do without changing the whole plan, the footprint. They could add stone or brick to break up the monotony of the materials. I also am concerned about the balcony railings. I think if they were frosted glass, it'd be more appropriate because people will be storing items on their balconies there, and it's so highly visible on that corner. It's taking up Craig and Jensen. And the developer did lower the height, and in doing so, though, he eliminated a storage unit in the building, and he added 2 more units. So the units he took from the top, he actually put them in the storage unit. So therefore, there's less storage, and that concerns me. And I think the upper deck looks still a little bit stark, which would come under the guidelines for form and character. And I'm still concerned about the lack of landscaping at Jensen and Craig, which I think needs to soften the streetscape there. So the other concern I have is that it's sort of a minimum commitment to energy conservation, and especially when you look at the project we just saw. It can be done, but it's the willingness of each developer to put that in. So, and my other comment I'd like to make is that the developer did say it's geared to seniors rental. He's not expecting too many need for parking space. So, and he also pointed out to the mayor and myself that the housing crisis that he feels is in Parksville. But then I have to question if we are looking for housing for families, housing options, all sorts of housing options for working people, families. Is this an age-restricted building? So that kind of concerns me as well. So apart from that, those are just some of the comments that I would like to put forward on this project, and hopefully the developer is listening and will consider making a few. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Frass.
Thank you. Through the mayor to our director of planning. Question is, excuse me, the two variances, if I'm not mistaken, they're for the height and then for the lane width allowance. Is that correct? And are they being, they're both being taken together on this?
So I have to find the section here, sorry. So there's a couple of variances. The main variance is the height variance from 11 meters to 15.5 meters to facilitate the 4-story building. There is a relaxation to the site triangle, just due to the building being on a corner. There's a relaxation to the maneuvering aisle width from 7.5 meters to 7 meters for the 90-degree parking. And there's also a minimum distance between the parking space and the property line abutting the lane at the back being reduced from 3 meters to 1.6 meters.
Thank you. I guess some comments that I have then is the parking and the lane reduction is not so much an issue for me. I see many situations where it works with having the lower limit, and I still think there would have quite a large driveway access there. But for me, this is two small lots that they're putting quite a number of units onto. And as it was pointed out in the ADP as well, in the meeting there I watched, that when they removed those 2 units to make that rooftop patio, they just had them on somewhere else. So it didn't alleviate any of the pressure of the site. It still became quite a lot of units for these 2 small sites. I think if they had a little bit more land to work with, and they could do a little bit different of a job here. I do share the concern that without the storage units, the balconies start to become a storage kind of space. And then you see with the pin rail, aluminum railings out there, it just kind of comes to people's, like, whether it's the laundry line or, you know, their beach gear and everything gets stored out there, hanging right on a prominent corner. Overall, the look that I see here, like the wood look, is just a metal paneling. It's not actual wood accents. And I think they could benefit from more of those stone and wood materials rather than just the metal all the way around it. When the developer came to us before, we had a chance to talk to them about solar panels on the roof. They said, it's a possibility, but I don't see that being put into the plan here. So I wish the developer was still here for us to ask questions to and get a little bit more understanding of it, because for me right now, it still leaves it as a too many kind of what ifs situations for it. So it's not a project I'm the most impressed with. There is a lot of good to it though as well. Like the benefit of having these units, housing units, come to town is great, but to me it doesn't quite hit the mark as far as putting a highly developed building onto a 2 small lots. So I do think there still needs to be a little bit more tweaking done to this project.
Councillor O'Brien.
And thank you. And through the mayor to Mr. Russell, I concur that my initial comments are that it's too much building for the size of the lots. They're trying to get too much in, as Councillor Frass has pointed out, taking the storage room and actually turning into 2 units just added to the pressure of that. And I'm not impressed with that particular move. The question to Mr. Russell would be that they're proposing 29 residential units, and it's a mix of one bedroom plus den, and 2-bedroom apartment units as well, which could be suitable for families or a couple, with 1 child or so forth. Is there any way that we can avoid an age designation requirement on it? Like if this looks like it's going to be rental apartments, I'm not really in favor of having like a 50+ designation put on it. a bait and switch type of thing where they, you know, they get the apartments and they get it all through and then they change it over to age designation. Is there any way that we can say that we request that this not be restricted at all to age to encourage more of a balanced demographic in the building?
If I may, Your Worship, through to Councillor O'Brien. A rezoning application is a type of application where things can be negotiated. That being said, local government is not in the business of negotiating demographic groups that may or may not, you know, the types of people or kinds of people or the age of people that may live in buildings. And so we have some challenges in doing that. The legislation under the Human Rights Code is a little peculiar in that it specifically exempts the ability to house people over 55 from the Human Rights Code. It's like a special exemption where discrimination is allowed in the case of housing for seniors. In most communities, that's not an issue. Most communities, the demographic tends not to be predominantly that group. And so in Parksville, we have sort of an unusual circumstance that other communities don't face with that. So I'm not aware of an ability to do that. I can certainly look into it, but where that comes into play is really as part of a rezoning application where council's in a position to negotiate, and really under development permit and variance permits, that's really not the, that negotiation isn't part of those processes. But that being said, council can certainly express your preference, your desire that it be a certain, that it be not age restricted. You can certainly express that and, encourage the developer to operate the building as an age restricted building. But I certainly understand council's frustration in these matters.
Please.
Follow up if I may, Your Worship. If council was to do that, the process would be right here, right now, just to express the desire that we're not age discriminatory on this particular project. Is that the way that we would do that?
If I may, worship to Councilor Byron, absolutely.
If so, with the blessing of your worship, I'd like to make that proposal that we create an expression of interest to be non-age discriminatory on this particular project.
Do we need to add that? I'm going to go refer to CAO. Do we need to add that in as part of the recommendations?
If I may, Your Worship, I think we would if you want it to be on the record.
I'm not in disagreement with this. I think we should be looking at this.
Yeah, I think that, with the caveat that you can't enforce it, but that you just
Well,
wish to see
that was
that.
going to be my next point, is we understand that by law, we can't because of this reverse discrimination ruling by the province. But
Yeah.
let's just put it in there and go for there. I'm okay with that.
So
We're looking at point number 4.
it could be, or just a new motion after the fact. We do have Councillor Greer and Councillor O'Brien as the mover and seconder. If they wanted to do a friendly or just.
I'm not sure you can classify it as a friendly, but we could. All right, let's try it with a friendly. I
Yeah,
think
you
we're going to get a fair bit of cooperation on this, so let's try it that way. All right, the mover and seconder okay with making that as a non? Councillor Greer, you got your hand up, or are you saying you're okay with it? Okay, who was seconded? Councillor O'Brien?
Councillor O'Brien.
Are you, obviously you're okay with it?
I'm okay.
All right, so any further discussion? Then let's add that on as an amendment. Are you making a comment on this amendment or this? All right, fair enough. Go ahead.
So no, I just wanted to voice my opinion just about the proposal itself. I think that the comments brought up by everybody so far has been great on this particular scenario. So I'd be in support of it as long as we see some things coming to light where maybe they take another look at this, and at the will of council, we ask for a few things as we did in the meeting here, and we hope that they're listening and that we can get a successful project out of this. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got point number 4 added on here for non-discriminatory. Do you have your hand up? Go ahead, because then I'm going to make a comment. So.
Thanks. My question would be the Director of Planning through the Mayor then. what would be the process and if we were wanting some adjustments done by the developer at this point? Because if we give them approval now, they could just say, thanks, we got it, and go and do what they want. They're not required to make any changes once we approve them. So what would be the process to putting forward some requests for amendments?
If I may, Your Worship, through to Councillor Fraz, I think it depends on the specific changes that council is looking for. So, for example, the development variance permit can be separated out from the development permit. So if council is okay with the variances, that permit, for example, could be issued. If council wants very specific changes to the building, council sort of has two options. It can either issue the permit as is, but with a proviso in that permit that the applicant consider, as a sort of like a term of permit, that the applicant consider the following adjustments and sort of leave it up to the applicant. Council could also alternatively be more specific. We would like to see the following items revisited and basically defer issuance of the development permit until those items have been addressed, and the development permit would then come back to council at a future meeting. From my perspective, I think material changes on the building are probably easier for the applicant to facilitate for council. Something that if impacts the floor plan is much more difficult. They would kind of be back at square one. So if it's doing enhancements to the materials of the building, I think there's a fairly easy remedy there that could be adjusted. Kita's gonna.
Sorry, if I may, Your Worship, just from previous experience of, these things happening, yeah, I think we're kind of at a point so we have a motion on the floor that has a slight amendment to add the age thing. But if council wants to see certain things happen and be enforceable and, have something to kind of speak to, my recommendation would be that this gets defeated right now and a new motion comes forward that specifically says, we want X, Y, Z, so that we can go to the applicant. They know exactly what you're looking for. And then when we go to issue, give back landscape bonds or whatever it might be, there's clear understandings of what needs to change, because we've had this situation over the last sort of 10, 11 years come up, and it just gets very confusing if it's not a directive from council as to what needs to happen for them to satisfy the development permit guidelines in council's opinion.
Thank you. Two things. First off, we've deviated off of what was on the floor. Was the addition of that fourth point. So we need to vote on the amendment of making it a non-age restricted. So let's take care of that first, and then I'll address the other part. All those in favor of the not? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay. Now, secondly, my suggestion is we have two choices. We can either defer this and go back to the developer and say, let's take another run at this, because you're not doing a very good job of what the council's looking for at this point in time. And I think it's a real good example here from these two different presentations of what a presentation, how it affects on the way you're thinking. The first presentation was excellent. They addressed everything. They took care of it. This one here, first off, we're dealing with a developer. We're not dealing with an architect or the principal of the company. This guy that is bringing it back and forth, correct me if I'm wrong, is the builder of the building that is working on this. And so it's got to go back and forth. I think we should either have the architect or the builder sitting here so we can have the direct conversation with the individual at the time. I mean, they can do it on Zoom from wherever they are. But this is just they're just going to keep going back and forth, because first off, I think the finishes on this buildings are just not acceptable for a prime corner on there. Okay, I think that you look at what we're going to put on those other two corners, and you look at this corner and you say, are you kidding me? This doesn't even come close. So the form and character side of it, some of the things like the triangle, the sight line, I mean, we're at a four-way stop. There's the same corners on the opposite side. It's been there for 150,000 years with Stedman's building, and they've got about the same triangle there is what we're looking at for this one. I'm not concerned about that. Parking spaces and aisle widths, and that is not a huge one. I'm more concerned about that yeah, I don't want to see this one all of a sudden turn into a senior citizens building. And B, I don't like what it looks like. And C, if, I don't know if you can do any better by cutting down the number of units or not, but that's up to them. That's what they pay an architect to come up with, and let them make their own decisions and come back with something. Surely by now, they've got the message as to what we're looking for. This is our only point of control on this. This is a development permit, and we have a very limited amount of what we can say for or against. And right now, I'm not in favor of this project at all. And we can't turn them down. We can only tell them what we want. Correct me if I'm wrong, Director Russell. We can only say, come back to us with the changes, and they have to come back for the fourth time then.
If I may, Your Worship, council can deny the development permit, but it must be specific on what changes it would like to see in order to outline for the applicant what they need to do to get satisfaction.
Thank you. And that's why I said deferral rather than decline, because if we decline, we got to come back and say, we want this, 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 and this. They know what we want. Let them come back to us. If we defer it and send it back to them, we haven't declined it. We just asked them to make the changes that they think we would deal with. That would be my proposal. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So can we defer this? Is this deferrable, or and if we defer it, perhaps I could ask through our CAO, as whom I'm looking at right now. If we defer this project, then how does the developer get notification of what we want? And what's the difference if we just have them outlined right as I have, you know, all of the different criteria that follow under the guideline?
So if I may, Your Worship.
Please.
Again, experience on having to kind of interpret what council says after the fact and explain that to the developer. I think the best option that I would recommend is that council basically do not issue the permit today, but expressly say what you need to see in order to be satisfied that the development permit guidelines have been met in council's opinion. So it really, I don't think the deferring or denying is the important part. The important part is explaining to the applicant what they need to do to have you satisfied that they've met the objectives sufficiently or adequately. And so it honestly doesn't really matter if it's deny now and make these changes, or defer until those changes are done. Like, that's something that doesn't really affect them. I think it's the clarity of what you need to see to be happy that the guidelines have been met. And you have to focus on the guidelines, not on other things that you have expressed. Those are kind of voluntary for them to try and satisfy you on, but you must adhere to the guidelines so that they can, and actually how Councillor Wilson explained it, like you even named them or numbered them. That's very helpful so that they know where they're lacking in meeting the objectives in council's opinion.
Follow up, please. So I have put those guidelines down. Can we do this now? I mean, if we're going to defer it, we still need to tell them what they need to do. But that would be whether, all around this table, we agree that, some of the visual things that would fall under certain guidelines. Would you like me to?
We have to, correct me if I'm wrong, I just want to make sure we don't make a mistake on this one. But we start doing that, it's got to stick to what is a development permit.
That's right.
Situation. So
Yes.
we can't get into parking lots and all those other things that are there. We're talking about specifically the building. I'll get to you in a second, Adam. We have to talk about exactly what the building, the form and character of this.
That's right. And those are the guidelines I'm talking about right now.
If that's the case, then that's fine. Before we'll give Adam a chance, Councillor Fraz, and then we'll come back to you with your
All right.
points. Okay.
Just a comment I wanted to make was when you say about sticking to the guidelines there, when it comes to a variance permit, though, we don't have to, that's a different
That's a
story.
different story.
Yeah, we don't
Different
have to
story.
give an excuse or reason or make a request of what we want out of that.
That's right. That's right. We're talking just the development permit. And once we've got that done, then come back for variances on the, for the widths of the aisles and all those things.
Can I just say, I believe I'll direct this to Lane Russell. that if we don't give the variance permit today, there's no point in even talking about the development permit. The variance goes first. Am I correct in that, Blaine?
If I may, worship through to Councillor Wilson, the variance needs to go first, but it can be, which is why it's ordered as such on the agenda, where it's the first thing in the resolution. So the variance could also be, it could either be the variance permit on its own could be either approved today or deferred to the next meeting, as long as when it goes on to the next agenda that it's listed before the development permit.
So would you like me to make some of these suggestions?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so the first one that I had, and I took them actually from some of the ADP that were very concerned and still were concerned actually at the end. Guideline 1A says buildings should respond to their location through appropriate building heights, form, setbacks, and architectural expressions. So under guideline 9A and B, and 9A and 9B, colors are encouraged that reflect the natural heritage of the area, and colors of native and weathered materials such as wood, stone, and brick. That's basically, I cut that down a little bit because I wasn't so much concerned about the actual color. Well, I think the color is important too, but so I wrote in there that, and council can agree or disagree, or maybe we can change the terminology. Visual interest by adding more West Coast materials like stone and wood to break up the monotony of one type and color of material would be one of my suggestions, which would fall under guideline 9A and B. I'm not sure, and I may have to look to Blaine for this one. I'm thinking perhaps under guideline 1A, the upper deck looks stark and needs visual interest. It looks like it just got chopped off at the top when they took that top unit off. So I'm thinking it might fall under guideline A, which was buildings should respond to their location through appropriate building heights, forms, setbacks, and architectural expression, which I would think that it might fall under that guideline. The other one would be the balcony railings, that they be frosted glass. And I still think that could fall under guideline 1A, taking into consideration adjacencies and architectural expression, perhaps. Then the lack of landscaping falls under the landscaping. I'm sorry, I forgot to write down the guideline. The landscaping there needs to be that landscaping along Jensen and Craig. And I also have guideline 12, which is that they step up their conservation efforts in GHG. So I think that at very least there could be solar ready. And I don't see any reason why they can't go to step 4 of the energy code, which is under the residential. And I also, given that we've already had one other project prior to this, just lay down the gauntlet and lead us to a much higher standard. And I also think that they can put in chargers in every unit, not just a few. So those are some of the things, and council may have some other items that would fall under some of the guidelines that they would like to see, but that would be a start for some of the things that I think are very important for this corner.
Councillor Greer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think we should do the variance first, get that over with, but I'm not so sure whether we can make all these changes and this decision around this table so quickly tonight. I'm in favor of some of those, but probably not others. We certainly don't want to discourage this builder to start all over again and redesign the entire thing. We have to look at where he's coming from as well. So anyways, I don't know whether we can make all these decisions tonight so quickly. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship. And the question to the CAO, is there a way that we can pass the variance tonight, the first portion of it, and then defer the rest of it as to requesting a meeting with the architect to attend to address the issues such as Councillor Wilson has brought up. Instead of listing it all separately, like if we have it would be much more beneficial if we could have a back and forth between the architect to say, you know, whether they can provide the upper balcony needs visual relief, you know, what he's proposing may or may not meet with our requirements, but just to defer it so that we have a meeting with the architect himself.
Okay.
Sorry if I may, Your Worship. We do still have that motion on the floor, and so that motion includes the variance, I think. Let me just double check here. Yes, so it does. So I'm wondering, I'm just trying to think how we can reflect this clearly in the minutes. We're kind of working off recommendations or now moved motions that are really not reflective of what I think you want to do as a council. So yeah,
No,
maybe.
yeah,
Well,
I can split.
you can make it
I can
work?
split the variance off as the
Okay,
chair.
because right
okay?
now we have,
So you can do that.
yeah, so, yeah, sure, that might be the cleanest way to do it.
Well, that's right. So let's split it off and we'll say the development permit application, we defer so that we can have the discussions, or at least the director can have a conversation with them, that you've now got an idea of what the issues are. They've been listed out for it. I'm not so sure I agree with the energy code and the chargers part of it, but you know, the rest of it is there. So let's put that, let's go back to the variance side of it, and that is another issue. So we have to get rid of one at this point in time.
Right,
So-
so we have, if I may, then, Your Worship, so we have items number 1 is to receive, number 2 is the variance, well, proceeding to notice. And then reviewing the comments. So council's not approving the variance tonight, we're just approving it moving to the next step.
So we're going to approve 1 and 3.
1
Or
and 2.
if- one and two.
If I may, Your Worship, to the CEO, the notice has occurred.
Oh, okay,
This is the follow-up.
sorry, wrong one, getting confused.
Okay,
So item 1 is to receive, item 2 is to issue the variance permit, and then item 3 would be deferred
okay.
based on the conversation with the architect. And then 4 was a friendly amendment, which we can add in to the discussion with the architect perhaps.
All right. So right now, item 1, 3, and 4 are going to be deferred. But one is to deal with the development permit, the other is to deal with the variance. And receive it, yes.
So-
That's automatic.
Yeah, I think we can
All right. I'm okay with that. If that's what
Sure.
everybody wants to
We
do,
can
I
have the
can
same
live with it. We're-
move in a second. So
All right.
basically number 3 is the one that would be deferred.
So we'll break them all down to all 3 points. Would that make everybody happy? 4 points. Well, 4 goes, yeah. Number 1, I need a motion to receive. Counselor Patterson, second by Counselor Chandler. Any discussion? All those in favor? There. Number 2 is the variance to issue. So we can go to that one now. I need a mover and a seconder for this recommendation. Moved by Counselor Greer, second by Counselor Chandler. You were seconding it? All right, discussion. We need to talk about the variances that are up on the table, right? Speak, pardon?
I can tell Your Worship, if I may, that no correspondence have been received.
That's
And
what
if-
I'm waiting for.
If anyone in the gallery is here that wishes to speak to the
Thank you.
variance, they may do so at this time.
Thank you. That's what I was waiting for. All right. Now, no discussion. I'll call item number 2. All those in favor? Opposed? Let's try this again. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? It carries. So the variance permit has been approved. Item number 3 is for the development permit. To defer is where I understand we're going to go. Counselor Fraz is deferring, putting a motion to defer. Counselor Wilson is seconding it. All those in discussion first, sorry. No, on deferral? Yeah, there is, but I'll go with it. All those in favor? Doesn't matter. Okay, number 4 was the friendly amendment, so that went with the deferral. All right. Thank God. We've certainly, if your next one's this complicated, leave now.
If I may, Your Worship, for council's consideration this afternoon is a development permit to facilitate 2 4-story multi-residential buildings on what's often called the Jensen block. So 106 through 130, 106 through to 140 Jensen Avenue West and 212 Alberni Highway. This property is in a fairly unique zone. It's in our downtown residential commercial zone 1. This zone allows for consideration of a height variance through the issuance of a development permit that's built in. So in this case, there is no separate development variance permit as a result. There's some minor variances that may be considered through the development permit. This building is very similar to the presentation by the rezoning applicant. It has a number of similar features, such as step 4 energy code. All parking stalls are future EV ready with 20 surface stalls, future EV ready. A number of other sustainability features, including solar panels, rock pits to capture rainwater, et cetera, have been incorporated into it. You've seen the designs in the permit. This went to the design panel at the last meeting. There were recommendations. They've explained what they're able to address, and the recommendations are per the agenda to consider issuance of the development permit.
All right. To make matters real simple, we're going to break this into 2 right from the beginning. To receive, I need a motion to receive. Councillor Wilson, second by Councillor Greer. All those in favor? Carried. All right, now number 2 for the development permit. I need a motion for the development permit. Councillor Greer, seconded by Councillor O'Brien. Discussion. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Something I didn't say to the developer is that I'm really happy about this project. I think it definitely exceeds the expectation we had for our downtown revitalization project. And I'm really, really excited to see this this project come forward. And I just want to say, just as the council has already said, so many visually attractive elements to it. I'm really happy they put underground parking, which we've heard so many times that it's not affordable, and yet they've done it. They've put in thoughtful and extensive West Coast elements in the landscaping. And I'm really, really happy about the sustainable energy saving initiatives and the GHG's energy step code 4, heat recovery, mechanical, solar power, rain gardens. And so I'm just really happy. Thank you.
Would not have known that. Any other comments? Then I'm going to call this question. All those in favor? The biggest of the 3, and it goes unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Russell.
I almost forgot I had that presentation. Okay, housing needs assessment report. So there was a change a couple of years ago, I think it was less than 3 years ago, to the Local Government Act that now requires local government must prepare a housing needs report in accordance with the Local Government Act. And once it does so, so basically has to compile a bunch of statistics on different aspects of housing within the community. Once it does so, it must then, within 5 years, undertake another study. And then once is per these are in the recommendation section, but in the recommendations, it makes note of the council receiving the study. And that's in order to satisfy the legislation that council has to receive the housing needs report. And in addition, it has to be published on the internet and be available freely to the public without charge. In this case, the Regional District of Nanaimo and staff from the city were working with them. They had a grant to undertake the study, and they were able to also include both the city of Parksville and the town of Qualicum Beach and the city of Nanaimo in their study. And so this study included City Spaces and another consulting group called Van Struth Consulting Group. And so this was completed in June 2020. I'm sneakily bringing it to you today for receipt in order to basically buy us time for the next future report that we may have to do. Because once this is received by council, the next report has to be back into council within 5 years. And this provides us with more time to do that, number one. And number two, from my perspective, at times a lot better when Statistics Canada data is released, because there's a much better chance of being able to do some adjustments when the census comes out. Whereas this report predates the census by a year or two. So anyways, that's why you're receiving this today as for receipt. I'm just going to kind of blitz through the graphs. It is a 98-page study with lots of statistics, but there's some interesting graphs that allows Parksville to kind of compare itself to some of the other jurisdictions. So we can see that, compared to, we can see the number of single-family homes. So we can see that, for example, Qualicum has more single-family homes as part of their housing pool than, say, Parksville, where we have a percent, 10% higher sort of multifamily component. And actually, we're fairly comparable to a much larger center like Nanaimo with respect to the multifamily mix that we have. When it comes to the age of our housing stock, we're actually pretty good. Most of our housing stock, is really in the kind of past the 1960s. 1960 or before is really only 6% of our housing stock. If we look at Nanaimo, it's 14%. So overall, our housing's newer. Our housing's also in better condition than Nanaimo. So our housing stock's pretty good. Less repairs are required. Housing tenure. So this is households that are owned versus rental. So compared to Qualicum, where we have 10% higher rental rates in Parksville. Nanaimo's a little bit higher than us, but for a community of our size, that seems really good. Vacancy trends. This is where we all have historically had challenges in Parksville. We've historically almost always been below 3%. I will caution that these statistics are only to 2018. And so what I hope to do towards the end of the summer is present to council sort of some current trend statistics on where we're at today, but that's separate from this housing needs report that we need to satisfy legislation. But that being said, I would like to provide council with an update, say first meeting in September at the latest on that. And I believe we've improved this situation, but I would like to present that to you at that time. Just shows I can't speak today. Purpose-built rental units, and this is one where these statistics are particularly out of date. And so again, I'd like to present those changes over the last 4 or 5 years to council this fall, early fall. These are the average rental units. So in Parksville, we're doing better than sort of the regional total when it comes to the actual price of rental units. Everyone's rental units did increase, but Parksville's been able to stay below the curve of the city of Nanaimo and Qualicum Beach. This is the hardest graph I've ever tried to read. So I'm not going to try, I might just skip this one, but I think Parksville has for detached houses, Parksville is on the higher end of the market. Now, that being said, this is also tying Qualicum into that, but Parksville Qualicum as a general area is trending higher on the housing, single family houses. When it comes to apartments and other units were also a little bit on the higher end. So that's a supply and demand. We're a very desirable community, which people want to live, work, and play. These are sales by housing types. Again, we can see Qualicum and Parksville kind of in the lower number of sales, but then there's 10 times as many houses in Nanaimo. So that kind of makes sense. Again, these are statistics from 2018 on the total number of non-market housing units in the city. And again, I know offhand, this is being increased with things like the Nanaimo Affordable Housing Society facility by Quality Foods, for example, as well as some other projects. So again, we'll be able to present in the fall some updated stuff. But for this study at the time, this is how we compared to the city in Qualicum. Again, further details in the 98-page report. These are primarily folks that are on rental assistance, whether they be seniors under the Shelter Aid for Elderly Residents or Rental Assistant Program. We can see that we have more seniors that appear to be on the safer elderly, the safer program for seniors than maybe some other locations. We also have some wait times for non-market housing. So there were 67 people when the study was done by BC Housing in 2018. These are some income comparisons of what that used to be called kind of core housing need. So for someone to be able to afford a bachelor suite in Parksville, they would need an income of around $25,600 per year as their annual income, so that they wouldn't be spending more than 30% of their income on housing. We can see for other jurisdictions such as Lanceville, it's significantly higher to have a bachelor suite in Lanceville, how much income you would need to have. We're doing better than some of the major centers, such as Nanaimo. I'm not going to try to read this one, but anyways, there's more details in the report on this. This is rental affordability for single persons. The red numbers are bad. That means someone's spending more than 30% of their income on rental housing. Parksville doesn't have a red in this category, which was kind of nice. That doesn't mean we're perfect, but at least on that particular metric, we, at the time the study was done, appear to be doing okay, but there's always room for improvement. This is just showing, this is on the whole for the whole region, and I thought this was interesting to show. It shows what age demographics are struggling more with housing affordability. So we can see that folks between, say, 45 to 65, at least lone parent households and couple households are doing pretty well. Couple households in general are doing fine, but when we get into the younger age group, under 45, that's where the numbers are. Folks are struggling a little more on their housing need. And this just shows rental affordability by those age groups, again, in a graphic form. And actually what's interesting about this is from a rental perspective, we're actually doing better than on an ownership perspective. So when I go to the next graph, that red line is sort of the average rent, and most people are doing all right. But here we can see that when it comes to ownership, the housing prices ownership wise have sort of skyrocketed off the charts. And then this is just a highlight here. So couple households earning the medium income or more can afford the average rental price in Parksville, yet unlike Nanaimo and Lanceville, couple households are not as easily able to afford the purchase price of the average townhouse or apartment unit in the city. Those with the least choice of housing in the market are low-income singles and low-income families, especially single parents. There is a demonstrated need for affordable home ownership and purpose-built rental housing in Parksville. And there's more information in the report. So at today's council, this afternoon's council meeting, I'm requesting that council receive this report and that the city publish the report freely and available to the public per the recommendations on the agenda.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder to receive. Moved by Councillor Patterson, seconded by Councillor O'Brien. Any discussion on receiving? All those in favor? Carried. Point 2. He does need to publish it as well, right? Yeah. You're moving to publish it. Councillor Francis, I need a seconder. Councillor Chandler. Discussion. Can we put some kind of a clarification on there that these numbers are only up to 2018 and don't reflect the current market conditions? Because boy, oh boy, they're so far out to lunch that it gives a very distorted picture of what's going on out there.
Absolutely, we can, Your Worship.
Councillor Chandler.
Through your worship, I'd also like to ask if you could maybe in that same mention to the public that you're bringing it forward in possibly the fall again, so that we'll get a better picture of it. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments, points? Fair enough. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Reports. Ms. Tardif.
Can you see me above the table?
Could you jump up and down every once in a while just so we know you're there?
Holy cow. No, I think it is as high as it goes. Yeah. It's because the table is raised up and I'm
Because of the
short.
wheels, because of
And
the
I'm
wheels.
short.
Please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Early in council's term of office, staff was directed to apply for as many grants as possible. The report in your agenda summarizes the grant process over the past 2 years. About 3.9 million, I actually like to say just short of $4 million dollars in grants were received to help fund community projects such as the outdoor stage, the gathering place, playground upgrades in the Parksville Community Park, as well as the Stormwater Management Master Plan and archaeological assessment, which actually advanced the recent submission of the Green Infrastructure Grant application, again for the community park. As council is aware, there's a $2 million grant that right now is facilitating the renovations at the Parksville Community Center. I'm hoping this report will give you a sense of the significant staff time required throughout the grant process. And that process is from, the beginning, identifying a grant, doing the research, identifying right through to submission, reporting, and then having a new asset and the management of that new asset and the cost. So it's a very, it's actually a lengthy process and resource-wise fairly intensive. Safe to say that all aspects of the grant process are actually done from the corner of staff desks. A proactive grant process positions the city to align initiatives with best possible grant opportunities. Staff's recommendation is in the report in your agenda.
All right, I need a mover and a seconder to receive. Councillor Chandler, Councillor Greer, any discussions, any questions for? So just before I'll get to you, Councillor Chandler, but just before so I understand, there's $4 million that we've received in grants plus the 2 million for the PCC?
No.
Or is
that's
that inclusive
included.
of the, okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Thank you. Right. In 2 years, yes.
Mhm.
Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to congratulate staff on that work. I think we realized that the dollars put forward to enhance your department with additional people, I think really helped to get you to that point where you were able to get more dollars and more really sustainable grants and things. And I think it's a real, a great bunch of work that you've all done to make this all happen. So I thank you for that personally, and it's great. It's going to be looking good on the city for all these things we're having. So
Thank you. Councillor Wilson. And Councillor
Thank you,
Patterson.
Worship. My question is to you, Deb. Are you saying that you're still doing this off the corner of your desk? Or are you suggesting that you need help? Another person?
If I may, Your Worship.
Oh, you may.
How do I answer this question? It is off the side of all of our desks, unfortunately. And I think at some point, we will need help if we're really to do this better than what we're doing now. And I think it can be better than what we're doing now. I think just the researching the grants with the actual grant application and carrying it through to what does this mean for the city in terms of asset management and costs. There are a number of grants in the next few months that we'll be applying for. So I think down the road, if the city's to do a better job, then yes, we will need better resources.
Follow up, please. Thank you. So I guess it's to our CAO. Would this be something that you would be putting forth for additional staff that we would be considering down the road, or how would that work?
Your Worship. So I think Councillor Chandler alluded to the fact that we have had some support from council already on this, and we're grateful for that. There's a term position in the finance department for asset management that will be supporting the financial side of the grants. Not the full FTE by any means, but so what we will do over the next little while, we have a number of term positions that this council approved for special projects to do the grant, like when we get money to build the stuff that we get the money for. And then also that asset management, which will build a program in terms of how we then manage the assets afterwards. So I think when those terms are coming up, we would be coming back to council to get confirmation as to what your priorities are. It'll be a different council term at that time. So if this is something that, you know, the administration at the time wants to continue, we will certainly need to assess where those resources come from, and, you know, how we can best support the program. And I think, you know, it does always fall to communications to kind of tidy it all up and make sure that everything is being tracked and submitted on time. But each department, like engineering and operations, those are kind of the key ones where we've had great success.
Mm-hmm.
They have to do a lot of that off the side of their desk as well. And they're always like a 2-week turnaround. I don't know why they do this to us, but the time frame is very challenging. So staff have to kind of drop everything else and put in the extra time to get the application written, and all the information supported so that we have some chance of success. So I think at the moment we're probably doing fine. My staff will probably not agree with me, but we're managing enough to get obviously some great success. But I think we're using temporary positions that council has approved, you know, specifically for that. And we're following the direction of this council to put that as a priority. So we're managing with what we have, but that's not sustainable in in perpetuity, I guess I would say.
Thanks for answering that, Kiva.
Any other questions? Councillor Patterson.
Although most of my questions have been answered, I guess for the manager of communications, and that your position is full-time, and we had in the past had someone work with you, and that as a part-time, that would be, I guess, back and forth to our CAO, would be one of those term positions. Is that correct? No?
I think you're referring to Kendra Conserato, and she works communications assistant, but is also sort of part of the admin team.
So follow up, to refresh my memory, how many hours or what component does Kendra have for communications?
I would, if I may, Your Worship,
may.
probably about 85%. And if I could also add to that, a good portion of her work used to be in IT in terms of website maintenance, all the updates. We now have an online engagement platform. All those things are new as part of communications responsibilities.
I have another question, but I think it would be disrespectful, so I will ask you offside. But I'll give you a heads up of where I'm going. And that, do we have succession planning in your field?
Sorry, if I may, Your
I think
Worship.
We'll address this one back to the CAO.
Yes, we certainly have a succession plan. That's the job of our HR department, but I think that those discussions happen with council in camera.
Yes. Thank you. Councillor Greer.
Thank you, Your Worship, and to Deb. With the workload you have now and the number of grants that we can apply for, are we missing any grants at all? Do you feel like we're getting our share, or is there just too many grants to cover?
If I may, Your Worship,
Please.
I do believe we could do better. I don't know that there are many smaller grants, say 50,000, 100,000, that often we don't apply for because the time involved is just as great as it is for a $2.5 million grant. But that's still $100,000 that we could be getting for a project, and maybe it's an improvement in the community park. It's a one-time small project. So
So we are missing some money then.
we could be,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We need all we can get. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship, and just a comment through to Deb Tarla. Deb, and I appreciate all the extra work you've done and your staff have done on this anyways, but the thing is that you don't allude to the fact is that you've been taxed extra hard these last 2-3 years to putting out other communication news releases and so forth in between the PCC and the swimming pools and everything like that. There's just been so much burdened on you as well. And so I just have to say that in spite of all of those extra burdens, because that wasn't part of our strategic plan, and that just happened, and then you were coordinated to manage it. And you did that as well as getting this. And so that's what I want to say, my appreciation for that you had all this extra going on as well. Maybe we'll be easier on that for the next 7 months or so. Who knows what the next one's. But anyways, I understand that you're doing it more off the corner of your desk because you have this other huge job that was thrown on you, and you had to handle it very well.
Thank you. It's called communications and odd jobs.
Sundry duties is assigned. All right, we're going to call the vote on receiving. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ms. Weeks.
Thank you. So this report submitted in accordance with the city's grant and aid policy. Council's requested to appoint 2 councillors to serve as a grant and aid select committee to review applications for financial assistance from community groups and organizations, and the recommendations for the council agenda.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder for the 3 recommendations. Moved by Councillor Chandler, second by Councillor Fraz. Discussion. Should be noted that the next appointments for this committee is Councillor Fraz and Councillor Patterson. So just thought you'd like to know that. Councillor O'Brien.
Just a quick comment, if I may, Your Worship, to Amanda. It would be helpful anyways. I was just noticing, I went through the applications already received. If the persons that will be choosing it, well, and it was had also the information that the recent COVID grants included in that as well, just for them when they're making their deliberations, it would be helpful.
All right. We have 3 recommendations on the floor. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Bylaws, final adoption, alternative municipal tax collection scheme bylaw 2022, number 1576. I need a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. Counselor Fraz? Pardon me? It doesn't tell me if it's first reading. It just tells me that it is final adoption. I said final adoption. Pardon? I've got well, my notes say final adoption. I don't have a 5. Maybe that's why. They're backwards. Somebody put 5A after 5B. We will have an alphabet test later. Okay, so let's go back. Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2022, number 2000.133. I need a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. And that's on the Zoning and Development Amendment. All right. Need a mover and a seconder. Councilor Fraz, seconded by Councilor Greer. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, go backwards. And what I said earlier, alternative tax collection scheme is the final adoption. Bylaw number 2022, number 1576. A mover and a seconder for that. Councilor Wilson, second by Councilor Chandler. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Can we take a 5-minute pause before we go on any further? Thank you. All right, call the meeting back to order again. Thank you for your patience. Motions from previous meeting. Counselor Patterson, you have a motion on the floor. Or to put on the floor, I guess is a better way.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's fairly self-explanatory. Due to COVID, we've had limited attendance allowed in the forum, and in the past, we used to have a process of public questions that were available for members in the audience to ask for items that were on the agenda, and I'd like to see, and I know it's not an official program or anything, but that council reinstate the process for receiving questions from the public during the 10 minutes prior to the start of council meetings.
Fair enough. I need a seconder. Counselor Chandler, you're seconding it. Discussion. Can I offer an amendment? Only because it doesn't say this, that reinstate the process of receiving questions from the public during the 10 minutes prior pertaining to the agenda items or items on the agenda, however you want to word it. But I think that's important because we don't want to start getting into discussions from the past. All right.
My apologies.
No,
It should
that's,
have-
don't
yes.
apologize. We'll forgive you later. All right. Any, Counselor Frass?
I just wanted to offer an idea, not that I'm stuck on one way or another, but having a question period after the meeting, I think could be beneficial as well, because often the questions could be answered through the meeting too.
I would tell you, we used to do that in days gone by. And what we found is that you were forcing the attendees to spend the whole meeting here. And that was, I mean, that's just what it come down to. But I'm okay either way. I think we've got to get back to it and give the people a chance to have the conversation. It's time. But either way, Councillor Greer?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, we used to have it at one time after, but it goes on and on. I think if you have it before the meeting, you allow them 10 minutes and then the clock hits 1 o'clock, then it's over. So it doesn't go on and on when you have it earlier. But yeah, at one time we did do the after the meeting, but it went on too long.
Councillor Wilson and Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess my question would be, is there not a way that the public, if they don't understand what went on in a meeting, they could get those answers from staff?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I wouldn't say after every meeting, but after every once in a while, I will get an email saying, didn't understand, can you explain why it went this way and that kind of thing. So I think, we're always open for that kind of a conversation, and I would appreciate if somebody would do that. Councillor O'Brien?
Thank you, to Your Worship. Just a comment on the motion. I believe it's a good spirit and so forth, but the 10 minutes, as Councillor Guerrero's already mentioned, may not be sufficient enough time. I think it's probably good to try it out of the 10 minutes, but if there's people that are waiting that can't get in on the 10 minutes, then we can go to, as Councillor Frass has suggested, at the end of the meeting as well. But we'll just kind of gauge that as it goes. If we find that there's people in the gallery that didn't get the opportunity in that 10 minutes type of thing, and they're kind of like frustrated because they wanted to speak to something. But if we can monitor that, I think this is a good first step.
Well, let me throw it out on the floor in the fact that let's just leave it the way it is here for the agenda for 10 minutes, but amongst ourselves come to the understanding that if we see that there's a lineup, if there's more, then we will extend it to after the meeting. I don't think we need a bylaw or a ruling on that. Pardon me?
Sorry, if I may, Your Worship, it's not part of the formal council.
No,
meeting,
it's not
so
part of the council meeting, but
you
we
can
can.
stay, like in the old days before COVID, that used to happen just quite organically, like councillors would just stay and talk with people afterwards.
Yeah,
So
we used to get
staff
that all the
leave
time.
and It's not part of your formal agenda, so you don't need to. be
Okay,
specific.
all right. Discussion? I think it's a good idea. Thank you for bringing it back up, Councillor Patterson. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor O'Brien, take another shot at this.
Thanks, your worship. I would like to propose the following motion anyways that council considers a new proposed option for creating pickleball courts. And if I get a seconder and you're willing to hear it, I can go into greater.
Are you seconding it, even though you don't know what his proposed option is? I find that I just don't know if I can even do that. I mean, how can you make a motion that doesn't tell you anything?
Oh, I can elaborate if you wish.
I would appreciate it so that,
Sure,
or just expand your motion a little bit so that we've got something to base the decision on, okay?
Let's just start that again.
Okay,
So that council considers a new proposed option for creating new pickleball courts in the community park and the parking lot behind the Parksville Curling Club. 16 new courts in the parking lot behind the curling club.
okay. That's a good one.
Okay,
Thank you for
okay.
that. I assume you're going to second that continuously. There we go. Seconded by Councillor Patterson. Discussion. Councillor Greer, oh, first, we'll let the man with the motion go first.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Wait, hold on, Councillor Greer.
What do we got?
He gets to go first.
You're always first. Come on.
You're first with me too, Al. Thank you. The reasoning for this is just, I wanted to council, I know we made our proposal, had the proposal through to us on the last agenda. And we came through with a solution of resurfacing the courts and so forth with a package price to be done, would be done in the fall of 2022. And then I have to admit to being somewhat disappointed that would not happen to the fall, but that's the way it goes because staff are so busy. So the thing is that looking back, I started thinking, why are we having such a discussion about the pickleball courts repurposing the courts that we already have? And if we had space like they do, like I did some research and found like in Vernon and so forth, they have dedicated pickleball courts. And what it is I'm proposing here, I went and had a look behind the curling rink. Behind the curling rink, it's all been, actually it's been compacted and graded. So what I'm proposing, and I've talked to the pickleball associations with it, they are on board with this suggestion. Is to create 16 standalone pickleball courts behind the curling rink. And where it would be is adjacent to the entranceway that you come in from where the tennis courts are now from that side. It would run adjacent to the green area and the skateboard park. And it would take up 16 pickleball courts, don't take up a lot of space as compared to that size of that parking lot. So the thing is that that site is large enough and it's underutilized because it basically fills up 3 times a year in Canada Day and so forth. And so the thing is, it's underutilized. It's a great piece of real estate in the park. It's compacted and it's not vegetated already, which means that it doesn't have the problem of invasive tree roots like we have in the community park that keeps on bucking up the surface no matter how many times we crack seal it. So it also, by putting it there as standalone pickleball court, it solves the problems of different user groups competing for tennis courts, lacrosse, or basketball out of the same places. So this is going to be strictly pickleball with dedicated pickleball courts, similar to what was put in when Springwood tennis courts went into Springwood Park. Is strictly tennis courts, and they are beautiful courts. I played there; they're amazing. So, someone had some forethought back then. Anyways, they're beautiful. The costs, anyways, would be relatively similar, if not cheaper, anyways, because we don't have to tear up the existing surfaces like in the tennis court because the subsurface is inferior and so forth, and the fences are already there for the tennis court. So there'll be less annual maintenance on the courts themselves because there's no tree root damage in the new location. The other thing that I was able to determine is that RDN Recreation confirmed that they could and would be able to, if passed by the directors, of course, to contribute to the cost of the court construction, which addresses the issues of players from outside of the city of Parksville. City of Parksville, we've said, well, how many actually are live here in Parksville and they want to play in our park. In this particular case, if the RDN comes up with contributing to the cost of construction of those courts, then that would be very beneficial and also would provide recreation, healthy communities for the entire area, which a lot of the pickleballers, as we know, are from in between the different EF and G. So the thing is that they could do that, and I asked the process how that would happen. RDN suggested that someone from City of Parksville would have to appear as a delegation to the Oceanside Services Committee to request funding. The town of Qualicum Beach did it fairly recently with their request for artificial turf for their soccer fields, I think, which was granted. I don't know if they've gone ahead with it, but they were approved anyways at that particular time. The 16 courts would provide recreational area, if you get this, 64 players at a time. If all 16 are used at four court, it's 64 players at a time. So that's a lot of utilization of space in there. And so the thing is that we know there's way more than 64 players, but as they rotate and so forth, that would be an incredible amount of recreation happening in that area. And so with the cost the same, I think we could give them dedicated courts without having any problem with other user groups feeling that they've been left off. And the final piece of icing on the cake, the Pickleball Association has $15,000 in a term deposit right now that they will contribute to the building of the courts. So I just think it's worth another look at this particular place. Everybody, they've been asking for so long. I think it's just time for us to set it up and recognize that it's a up and coming sport.
Councillor Greer, then Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's not a bad idea. I'm not going to shoot the entire idea down. But my feeling is with the cost of everything these days, that's going to be quite a cost, I'm sure, far more than what you might anticipate. Then there's the upkeep for it. And I think the time has come when a lot of these user groups are going to have to pay for the usage of these facilities, including the baseball and so on. But the other thing I strongly believe in is that if we're going to do something for the pickleballers, and I would certainly like to do that, but I think we should donate them a piece of property and then let them run their own affairs, build their own clubhouse, run the whole thing, but put the onus on them that they're going to have to raise the money to do it. I don't think we can continue to raise money for all these different sports and maintain everything, because I think the maintenance is big. And to put those tennis courts in, it's going to be quite expensive. And besides, it'll take away from a lot of the parking, a lot of usage of that space. So I wouldn't be in favor of it, but I am in favor very much of setting them loose with their own piece of property and let them run it like the lawn bowling club and like the curling club does. So it's time that they were self-sufficient. That's it. Thanks.
Councillor Chandler.
Thank you. Through the mayor, just a comment. Yeah, I agree with that. I believe fully that a piece of property would be a fantastic scenario for starting point for the pickleball folks. And I mean, there's no question that it's becoming a large sport. We're talking to more and more people, that kids are involved. And that's where I'm going to go with this, is that we've got a need for this to be coming to a younger crowd. You've mentioned that before, Councillor O'Brien. So what I would suggest is when we have an unused facility over at, which is right now kind of underutilized at Bolinas in their tennis court area. And it might be something that you could potentially look at getting together with them, or, having the pickleballers get together with them and see if they could almost mentor in a new sort of a pickleball program for the young kids, help get it all running and have the use of that same facility when the kids are not using, especially in the summertime when they're not using it at all. So that would just be something. I know it's not necessarily the easiest thing to be able to try to manipulate school board properties and things like that. But I think in some cases we're seeing things like grants that could be tied into this. And if the pickleball group became maybe a nonprofit, there's a potential that essentially they could go for some of these grants. Because if they're just an association and not a nonprofit, then they miss out on a lot of that stuff. So just some suggestions. Looking at it from a 360 lens, I like the idea of adding pickleball courts wherever we can. But I don't think the city can sustain continually adding it and having the expense to the taxpayer. I think it's definitely I think we've done some of what we want to do now. And I think we've offered, if I'm not mistaken, we have 2 courts on one area and 9 on the other as far as the lacrosse box. If I'm not mistaken, I'm just going off memory, but I think that gives us 11 playing surfaces if I'm correct. So if not, I apologize, but regardless, that's my comments. And I thank Councillor O'Brien for bringing this forward. I think it's a good idea.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I want to thank Councillor O'Brien for bringing this forward. It actually sounds like not a bad idea, but I also agree with Councillor Greer that it would be perhaps a better idea for this group to, because they are such a large group, to manage their own play, just as the curling club and the lawn bowling. But I guess one of the questions would be parking. How much parking would that take up to our CAO? Or, I guess this would require a study, obviously, but I don't even know how big that parking lot is. So that might create another problem. And then, of course, I guess then if we did consider giving land to the pickleballers, we can't really dedicate that piece of land from the city, could we? Or is that possible to dedicate part of that land and let them raise the money down at the parking lot? But that probably wouldn't be a feasible piece of land to break off for them, would it?
Sorry, if I may, Your Worship. I don't know if this is the right time to weigh in on this, but we do have some, maybe just as part of the decision-making process, we do have some potentially conflicting motions. Staff are right now looking into the opportunity to put the pool down there. And we do have other direction to amend, as Councillor Chandler mentioned, some of the existing courts. So maybe I'll just put that out there for a reminder that we will need direction on that direction if this direction changes. But just to answer the question about donating land, we certainly can donate land to nonprofits. But normally it's like you can do a lease area. But that particular site has some challenges because of the way we received it. So I'd have to do more research into whether that would be possible. But there has been discussions, I know, many times over the last sort of 10, 11 years about donating land similar to what Councillor Greer has mentioned. But I'm not sure that they've identified a site that they would want. But we do have other land that may work. Or this one might work, but just as a caution or a reminder, we will then need direction on what to do with the other motions that are kind of underway. So they would have to either be changed or rescinded or swapped out or something like that, or put on hold while we look at something else. And I think I would perhaps at some point need some clarification if this goes forward as to whether this is to ask staff to look into this or just to get it done, because we'll need some clarification on that as well.
Thank you. Councillor France.
Thank you. Through the mayor to council, I think it's a good idea to be thinking about additional pickleball courts and where they could be. For me, the issue I think with this motion, which I'm not able to support, is that we just finished a lengthy process of looking at different plans and options that a lot got considered into. We just made a decision on it, and I'd hate to go back to the starting point and have it. I think it would just create further and further delays to where nothing would get done actually to forward the issue of pickleball courts, because we don't know what would be required for this kind of an option as far as costs, and as our CEO mentioned. But I do think it is worthy of to continue looking at those additional pickleball options, like Councillor Chandler mentioned with the school district at Bolinas. I think there's a lot of opportunities around our community, but when it comes to our community park. As far as pickleball courts, I think the decision we made, while it might be a compromise in a lot of ways, I'd like to stick with it. I think it was a good decision with a lot of thought and work put into it.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm sorry, I'm going to speak. Go ahead, Council.
Well, thanks, Your Worship. So I was just going to suggest that perhaps this motion, we keep that thought. We don't necessarily, I agree with Councillor Fraz that we do need to move forward on the decisions already made. And it wouldn't hurt anyway, they'll always need more pickleball. So, rather than just throw this whole idea away, I think it would be a good idea to keep our minds on it. But I don't think it's something that we can do right now necessarily.
Okay. Councillor O'Brien, go ahead, make your comments, and then I'll wrap up when you're done, okay?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to address what I've heard at the table here, which I really appreciate, because that's all I wanted was to have a discussion.
That's fine.
And that's exactly why we're here. And that's keeping an open mind for everybody. Just on the quick comments I heard back from council members where costs and upkeep was brought up anyways and so forth. I have to qualify and go back up and to suggest that if you consider the upkeep and costs anyways involved, we have our Springwood Parks, which are state-of-the-art ball fields up on top, and it's shared with soccer as well. The Springwood fields up there where the Royals play is incredible. I walk through there all the time. The parks crew are there constantly. It's a huge upkeep to maintain those fields. So there we have a dedicated user group, which is the ball group in baseball, softball, and so forth. And there's a huge upkeep on that particular facilities. I have to point out the fact that when it was mentioned anyways that user groups should pay for the cost of facilities and dedicate to the land, and they could put up their own pickleball courts in this particular case. Well, we didn't tell the hockey people to play hockey in this town. We didn't tell them to build their own arena. And I'm certainly that their fees that they pay to rent the ice certainly doesn't come close to the cost of the arena, the ice surfaces, the two ice surfaces that we have up there. So there's another dedicated group to play hockey up there. I realize that there's recreational skating as well, but hockey is the main activity there. And so they didn't have to pay for their own facilities as well. And the Springwood Tennis Association, the club that plays up there type of thing, I checked back anyways with them, and the Tennis Association was not, there was no request for them to build up their own tennis courts because there was a need at that time. My only other point is that the curling club, well, they got their own curling club that, well, we bought it for $1, so they got it, and they're running the programs and so forth. So they have the facilities, and so all that I'm saying is that times are changing. Times are changing in the fact that the pickleball is become an up and coming new sport, and it's just like when people had enough forethought to put in skateboard parks. You know, when that was up and coming type of thing, the city bit the bullet and put up skateboard parks. The thing is that we know pickleball is a huge growing sport that, as Councillor Chandler has made, is that we're trying to get introduced to the youth, of which they would be very interested in if the dedicated nets are there. All that I'm saying is that it's tough to say, like you have to go out and build your own pickleball courts when we've already built. Prior precedent has been in between the tennis courts, the ice arenas and so forth. We've already set that precedent. And the fact that bringing RDN Recreation into the formula, RDN Recreation are super excited about pickleball because of the healthy community initiative that they have. And by having more pickleballers playing pickleball, say that one 3 times in a row, makes a healthy community because it's a huge activity that is very beneficial, not just to seniors and so forth, but the lateral movements anyways, and pickleball make it accessible to so many people that may not be able to play other sports that are, I don't want to say less vigorous, but that's the way it is. So the thing is that it enables a lot more people to stay active. And I think that makes for a great community. That's my comment. Just trying to keep it move forward.
Councillor Greer, and then I'm going to wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Well, as far as the hockey goes, we pay for the ice time that we use. So everybody pays for that. Plus it's subsidized by the city by a tremendous amount of money, which I think here again, going forward, we're not going to be able to do this with every sport. The pickleballers have got a tremendous amount of members. And I'm not quite sure how many, but somebody says close to 1,000 members. They should be able to raise their funds and do this thing on their own quite easily if they were given the property. You know, I've been in the fundraising business probably all my life, and I've raised a ton of money for different situations. The old schoolhouse was one. The city wouldn't give us money for that, and it's still thriving after 35 years. We put in an arena in Minden, where I originally come from. They had natural ice, and the people all pulled together, and we raised enough money for a third of it. That was what our goal was. And there's been other great many projects that we've raised money for, and people are willing to do that. And I think the pickleballers have got enough players that they could easily raise enough money and work on this themselves so that it's not costing the taxpayers any money. Anyway, so I think we're coming to a stage in time when municipalities have to watch where they spend their money. The mayor and I talked about that today and this morning, and it's not what you make, it's what you spend. And the city is always up to snuff when it comes to spending, and our taxes are going ahead all the time. So we just can't afford going forward all of the future things that people are going to need. They're going to have to pay for it and raise the money themselves.
Thank you. I'm not going to be able to support this for a couple of reasons. The first one, I think it's a really good idea. I don't have any objections to additional pickleball courts in the city somewhere, whether it's on our property or on their property, or that's not relevant. What I do have a concern with here now is when you look at our budgets, and we're going to see them next week, our budgets, we're going to be like way in over what we think we are, or what we have been able to bring to the table for the last 3 years. We've got a 2.5% cost on the RCMP. We're going to have about a 1.5% cost on staff wages. We've got a 5.7% inflation factor that's got to be worked in. We're going to do all of this. All the numbers that I'm hearing from all the surrounding communities are between 5 and 7 and 8 and 10%. That's what it's ranging at. And, you know, I don't think we're any better than any of those people. I would not be surprised to see us in the ballpark. I don't have anything to base that on other than just a gut feel with looking at it. So now we got to start to say, where do we spend our money? We have originally made, this council sat and we had a very boisterous debate on the pickleball courts way back when. And we said, all right, here's the best compromise. And I thought it was a pretty fair compromise. Here's the best compromise that we can come up with for what we've got to spend. And we did start that, and we're working at it, and we're pushing forward now. And to stop it and say, whoa, stop. No, we got to go back, and we're going to go look at doing it in another spot altogether. I think we're going to be terrified when we see what the cost of putting that in the parking lot. Yeah, I hear about the compaction and the no trees and all of that. Those are all good points, but there's still a huge expense. And then the ongoing expense is going to be equally as high. You know, it's not just pickleball, but we've got to look at all of the sporting events that we help here. You know, should baseball be paying a user fee? Should soccer be paying a user fee? And I'm not talking about the kids, the minor sports ones. I'm talking about the older people that do it. Should the tennis be paying so much an hour for it? I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not prepared to sit here and say it's the right thing or the wrong thing, but it's something we got to look at. If we were getting a per hour basis, much like what the arena gets, then maybe it's not so hard to swallow. But our job is to look at the overall benefit for the overall community, not for 400 people or 700 people. It's the overall community. And if this is going to cost us $600,000 or $700,000 to put in, and yeah, the region's going to do that, but guess who the region is? Guess where the requisition is for the funding for this? Nanaimo's not going to pay for it. They're going to come back to the city of Parksville and say, all right, you got to pay 65% of what we're going to put into here. Plus, we're going to charge you on an annual basis for the all the services that they provide there. And then ongoing, we have to pay for the upkeep of those courts. That's how it works. So all of those things put together, we've got to look at a better solution. I never even thought about the idea of the high school. I mean, hell, we just gave them $250,000 for their track. Maybe we should be playing that and using it to say, why don't you work something out with the pickleballers for how many courts do they have at the high school? I'm not even sure. 3? 2? 3? 3. So there's an extra 6 pickleball courts right there that I think have some merit. And yeah, the school board may be using it sometimes as a tennis court, but maybe, as Councillor Chandler says, there's some upside to pushing it for the younger kids by getting them to play. I just look at the whole thing and say, we're on this path right now going towards where we all decided, it was a unanimous decision, by the way, for refurbishing the surfaces. And let's get that done. And yeah, I agree. I'm not happy that it's taken this long, but we keep changing our minds. So of course it's taken a long time to get done. So let's finish what we start on this. Let's not flip-flop on it. Let us get this done. And then I think we still even go back to the board and say, would you be interested in do that? So they have what we're proposing. And then maybe the board can work something out for they may end up coming out better than 16 when it's all said and done. I don't know. But anyways, that's my reasoning for not supporting it. All right. Here we are. Nobody else to comment? Call the question. All those in favor of the motion on the floor? We've got 2. All those opposed? All right, make note. It's Councillor Chandler, Councillor Greer, myself, Councillor Fraz, and Councillor Wilson. Thank you. I'm hoping that we come up with a solution to this problem that's better than what we've got. But do we have any new business from members on council? Councillor Chandler and Councillor Patterson have their hands up enthusiastically.
Thank you, Worship. Just a little bit of fun here. While you're away, just wanted to point out the fantastic job that Deputy Mayor sitting that managed to do. I'm not suggesting any names at all, but I'm just saying that I wanted to point that out. Probably one of the best we've seen in this whole term. So thank you.
And I certainly appreciated the machete that was left on my desk. Literally, I have a knife on my desk that's that long. It's his cake cutter, but it looks like a machete. Anyways, Councillor Patterson, do you have anything serious to add to this?
Is our deputy mayor finished?
Oh, he's finished.
Okay. I'd like to just give council a little update in regards to Beach Fest.
Yes.
If I may. So as of present, they have 7 teams and 14 soloists that have signed up. So really excited about that. But sand is proving to be extremely challenging, trying to find a local source, and it looks like it may have to be coming from Campbell River again. And the cost and the transportation has increased drastically, and that it's budgeted probably close to the $30,000 amount. So challenging.
Just if I could, just so everybody knows, it's a special kind of sand. It's
Yes,
not
it
just
is.
your ordinary beach sand. We can't go down there and just shovel it off the beach. Or
No,
something. This
no,
is
not at all.
very specific.
So they've also closed the timelines and everything for the hiring of the event coordinator and festival organizer options. And we've also looked at the festival assistant position. It's been posted, and we've had spoken with both high school career counselors and everything to promote the position. So it's always a good youth activity. And currently, we are close to $90,000 of sponsorships committed, and $10,000 from Mid-Island Co-op as the title sponsor for Rock the Park Music Festival. So they're still working on in-kind sponsors, and investigating a tip-tap option for electronic donations into the grounds and everything as well. And art in the park. To date, they have received 28 applications, so that's really exciting as well. And I just have one other little report as well from entertainment. So the summer concert series bands have all been booked and under contract. That's the Tim Hortons summer contract. There's a few spots left for buskers, and they've looked and have approached all the bands booked and everything for Rock the Park Music Festival. And so the outdoor theater construction, for most of you, I'm sure you know, is on schedule and on budget and hoping for a completion date of May. And then the third-party ticket partnership is with the Oceanside Community Arts Council to manage online ticket sales for the ticketed events. And I think that's most of everything. So they're getting a lot of questions and looking at investigating a shuttle service for the Rock the Park music and that with the school division. So being able to have a bus and have parking at Bolinas High School and then just round trips and everything. So it avoids some of the congestion and everything down in the park. And they've received rental inquiries for monthly Sunday jazz concerts from June to September, which I look forward to a lot. So that's a little bit of update, and that in regards to Beach Fest. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Moving right along, I need a mover and a seconder so that we can go into closed meeting. Moved by Councillor Chandler, seconded by Councillor Greer. All those in favor? Fair enough. Thank you.